Code changes may be coming to the short-term rental market in the city of Bend limits. This does not apply to Deschutes County, so please keep that in mind. It's only within the city limits that they have these regulations. They currently have several different permitting types depending on whether it is a whole house being rented, a room in your house, if it's an infrequent rental. There's many different levels and different types of permits. This is going to apply mostly just to the whole house short-term rental permits. So currently there does need to be a 250-foot buffer between short-term rental units. So if your neighbor has one, that means you cannot apply and be permitted to also have one if it's within 250 feet. So one of the changes, the biggest change that they're trying to possibly make, is to change that 250-foot buffer to a 500-foot buffer. So then that would spread out the short-term rental permit availability and make less homes eligible to be able to be made into short-term rentals. The reason they're doing this is because we do have a housing shortage, and affordable housing shortage especially, so they are trying to combat that problem in any way they can. There has been some arguments made that when houses can be short-term rented, they are able to create a lot of income and a lot of money, and that may be driving up prices and taking away homes that could possibly otherwise be long-term rental homes. Another one of the changes is abandonment of use clause, which is currently in the code. What they're doing is they're trying to make an exemption to incentivize people to rent long-term rather than short-term. So currently you do have to have at least one night per calendar year rented to someone short-term to maintain that rental permit and not lose it. So what they're trying to effectively do is say, if you are going to put a long-term tenant in there instead, which we want to encourage, we will need proof of that, so you will need to provide proof of that long-term tenant, but they will be able to stay there for up to 3 years of renewing your short-term rental permit license. If you have a long-term tenant for longer than 3 years, you're going to lose a short-term permit, and then that will allow other people around you to possibly apply. The Planning Commission had a public hearing and a deliberation session on September 12th where they discussed these changes. We did hear a lot of public comment. There was plenty of residents for the short-term rental changes and plenty that were also against. There was a vacation property manager, there was several short-term rental owners that spoke, and then neighbors of short-term rentals that also spoke. Some people would like a citywide ban. I don't know how many people that is. We did hear from a couple that would prefer it to just be banned altogether and not allow any short-term rentals. Then, of course, there was people arguing for their right to use their property, for it to be an equal opportunity for them. So they felt it was unfair that people that were here before them were able to use their property in this way, and now they are not able to. We did hear from one Bend resident who argues that having her ADU as a short-term rental on her property, she lives in the house and then rents the ADU, is what is enabling her to survive and live in Bend and be able to afford to live here. So those are kind of the arguments for and against. The city council is going to meet on October 5th and the 19th to discuss these changes. The Planning Commission did vote for the changes, which effectively just means they're recommending to the city council that they pass them. So there will be more time for public comment if you do want to either speak or just do written comment before October 5th, and then again October 19th, which is when they will make their decision.